as an inspiration, not a competition. And that's not because I have left the industry or not actively involved with Sinjit. Even otherwise, I would have said the same thing. And more as we go, we'll elaborate on that. Last 17 years, the business has definitely changed. Sophistication has come in an enormous way, and it will come even more. There are certain business models which particularly Origin in India, Origin and Jubilant pioneered. I don't want to go into the question of who did what first, but both of them had into similar kind of models, and since Murthy is here, I won't even, CSN is here, I won't even like to say what is the models, but then those models were maybe a little bit ahead of their time, but time is coming for them. And I think from that point of view, they did something path-breaking in the beginning, which others are following. Typically, there are 4 models to choose. One would be like purely transactional services, which I like to say, those of you who have seen some of the shops in New Jersey, Indian stores, cash and carry. So some of them are cash and carry. That is, we work on purely get paid, give a service, be it a molecule, be it a biological molecule. We do that and keep nothing, there's nothing else beyond that. The second was, of course, is going into some kind of the deal structures. There are many. In fact, I'm surprised that we didn't discuss at all in the last session because all the practicing people are sitting here and some of them have done many more deals than probably even I have done. But there are certain deal structures, call it deferred payment, call it milestones, call it risk sharing, and as we heard also, that skin in the game. And the third would be is, which I think people have been talking, but I somehow is feeling that it will completely change the character of a CRO if we start saying why we are not taking a project, getting a molecule, and becoming a biopharma. If we become a biopharma, then we are not a CRO. And even though Shapan talked about it, how the patent laws have changed, but still I don't think we have got that required credibility like some of the CRO come biopharma, and take examples like say Evotech or Argenta or some of the other companies in the US and UK who run both, do their own research, sell their own molecule. I still feel it's, there is certain problem of credibility in India to do it at this stage. If some of us can cross that barrier, gain that credibility, it will be fantastic. So this clearly is the scenario today, and we'll come back more into this later on, because let's continue with the others' views on this. Thank you.
That there are a lot of risk associated with companies in India, whether it is IP related and people issues and things like those. One of the thoughts on which I would like to pick up brains of Prabuddha is, Prabuddha, do you feel that India's prominence as a big generic player is really restricting R&D to move to India, and what risk when these global players look at Indian partners, what risk they perceive in terms of these partnerships?
Hello. Yeah. My thanks to the organizers for having me on the panel, and thanks, Anuj, for that question. Yes, my short and long on this is yes, I do sometimes believe there are predominance and prolonged activity in the generic market has had a beating on our ability to convince big pharma and biotechs. I mean, I can speak clearly for the biotechnology section, mainly for the protein molecules, when they look at us as partners. Some of the issues which I've predominantly dealt with over the last 6 years has been, can we really trust you? If there was an issue that we had to solve, where would the legal recourse take us? And in most of the contractual terms and agreements that I've had to sign, nobody is willing to even work out of the legal system in India. And I think that's something we really need to address if we were to become big partnerships. Because when people look at big partnerships, they look at big investments. they have to be able to de-risk or at least mitigate some of that risk through the present legal framework in India. And it has to not take infinite time. And it has to have what I call is a recourse to proper arbitration. In not many forms or types do people really want to get into the legal system. Some of the other issues that I've sort of jotted down has been that there's been a lack of transparency in our regulatory system and the way we conduct. So if we need big investments in the big pharma / biotech space coming in, and when they look at partnerships, they must also be able to take that to a fruitful conclusion, which means the end is a if the local regulatory sort of agencies do not provide the transparency of application to fulfillment, definitely that has sorry, my apologies. Technology has some ways of banging back on you. So the other thing is the spirit of collaboration. Sometimes I do believe, and I'm sure there are eminent speakers here, is that the ecosystem of collaboration has not yet perpetuated or percolated through our system. There is always that ability to culture an ecosystem of collaboration. Whether it's industry versus academia, we've not been able to show too many successful such ecosystems partnering up here. And this is where I would be very interested to hear from Dr. Sanjay Mittal myself about the ability of a hospital like Medanta to collaborate with Duke and bring that forward. I think if we were to look at these three summon substances, regulatory, legal, and an ecosystem, if we were able to solve these three systems, I presume and assume that we would be a very attractive partner or source of partnerships in India. Thank you.
So few years we've had very successful partnerships and case studies which we can talk about. We have had some examples which are not so good, but there have been reasons, whether it is macroeconomic or whether it is their internal reasons of falling apart those partnerships. But I would like to take this opportunity of Dr. Gautam Das' presence here to, if you can just quickly take us through your entire journey of 17 years, and you were one of the pioneers who started this entire Syngene BMS partnership. How did you see this partnership evolved over a period of time, considering all the macroeconomic factors? What were the changes you witnessed?
When we started, it will be very surprising that today we heard here, all the industry leaders talked about chemistry-based businesses. But when we started in '94, we were not sure whether chemistry or biology, what will be outsourced from India. And the consensus at that point was that chemistry has been done enough and all the big pharmas will be doing it. Maybe it's the biology, which you will think very surprising today. And one of the reasons for me to come and start Syngene was to start a biology CRO. And I myself still then was a practicing biologist, an East molecular biologist at Astra, which was another story. Now, that changed. So if you see, the first thing is that within 6 to 8 months, we realized that it is not the biology for which the outside world is prepared to be outsourced, but it is the chemistry. Second is, today we hear that big pharmas are our bigger clients, and their rise and fall or their way they are conducting themselves is how our future and our fate is getting associated. Syngene didn't start with big pharma. Syngene started with a biotech. It's called Affymax Research Institute, which later in '94 got acquired by GSK, and also later on in 2003 subsequently got disinvested by GSK. And Syngene worked with them for 9 years. And they were one of our very big clients for a very long time. So coming back, so my thing is that what you are seeing today is not how it started. Why we didn't bank on big pharma? I still remember in '94, I opened an issue of Chemical and Engineering News and saw the head of the then R&D of Pfizer not Pfizer, of Merck, made a very clear statement that Merck will never